Hello everyone, thanks for joining me today on Tamper the Plan. In this video, we are going to be talking about which Laurel Denise planner is right for you. It's a big decision when you're trying to figure out which planner to buy, and especially for a high-end planner like Laurel Denise, you really want to have an idea of what will work for you and what you want before you start purchasing. So what I have here is every layout, I think except for two, that I'm gonna just flip through and show you, and then we'll talk about the other two as well, just so you can know what all is available and what is gonna work best for you. We're gonna begin with just flipping through the different layouts, and then we will take one layout at a time and work with that. So let's start with her vertical weeks and month layout. This is now called the Anne layout. And it comes in a mini or small, as it's called now, and regular, now called the large. These are both the 2025 version. Most inside is the same. Some of the back pages are a little different. Let's just look at the layout real quickly. The first thing is that every Laurel Denise planner comes with two bookmarks. Very, very handy. One is a ruler bookmark and one has a scalloped edge that is great to use for doing some fun lines. She has a very basic beginning. You have like your opening, year at a glance with your holidays, special days and events list, and a tiny little goal box with things to remember. And then you get right into your first monthly. And the one thing about the Laurel Denise planner that's so unique is you have these little Dutch door pages. And when you flip them over, you can still see everything here, and you can see a lot of your goals or list pages from over here. In the back of all the weeklies for the month, there is a habit tracker. So this is the mini version of the vertical, and her vertical is a lined version. And we're gonna compare that to the big. You have the same setup with the bookmarks. This one's more colorful because it is one of the pattern ones. And I love the pattern ones the most. The plain ones are just a little plain to me, but a lot of gals do decorate them with stickers and such. So everything's the same. The two bookmarks, the beginning pages are the same, just larger. And then again, we get into the weeklies with the Dutch door pages and the habit trackers in the back. If you are new to Laurel Denise planners, the most unique thing about them is how you can see your monthly the entire time. So no matter what week you're on, first week, third week, fourth week, the first week, you can always see your monthly, and then you can always see a portion of these planning pages. So a lot of people will put some goals here, different lists. You can use post-it notes to put things on here. And then you have like kind of a secret section back here where you could put maybe some of your finances or some of your thoughts, or you can still do another list here. But it's a little hidden for most of the month. But it does take a little flip to get to this section. But what everybody loves is being able to see this section and your monthly at the same time. So this is the large vertical lined, and we're just gonna look at it very quickly. This is the second layout that they came out with. Their first was the horizontal, which we're gonna show next. So you can see, pretty practical. The columns are pretty tiny, and we'll get into this a little more in a moment because we're just checking out the layouts right now. So that's layout number one, the vertical month and week, now called the Anne planner. And they gave them all female names from literature, the planners, which I think is super cute. But it doesn't quite show you if it's vertical, horizontal, or what. Okay, so in the same mini and big design, we again have the two bookmarks. Everything's the same between the planners, your special dates, and then you get right into your weeklies. But this is the horizontal. Now their horizontal is one of the most unique horizontals that I've seen, because your Sunday, if you have it flipped like this, you can see your entire week of things and your calendar. And then this can be a to-do list or something over here. But your Sunday goes all the way across, your Monday goes all the way across, your Tuesday goes all the way across. I really love that, and we'll talk about some ways to use this in a moment. But otherwise, it's the same layout. You have these little Dutch door pages that turn, your tracker on the back. You can see your month at all times and your goals at all times. And the same with the big. Has the two bookmarks. These are plain ones, so the pockets, you do also have a front and back pocket on all her coil planners, coil or spiral planners. So you have your special dates, holidays, and then you get right into the weekly and the monthly. Same little Dutch door pages. These are so fun to turn, but one of the things that's so great about it is if I have a birthday over here, I now can just quickly put it over here. I don't have to flip back and maybe miss it or forget about it or get distracted on which day I'm supposed to go somewhere, because it's all right here and I can just move it on to my calendar. So let's have a look at these together. We'll go in more detail. All the sizes for all of the pages are online, and she also has a free printable that shows all of the box sizes. You print it out and it'll show. It'll give you samples of this little box, it'll give you samples of this bigger box, samples of this horizontal section and this horizontal section. So you get the whole thing, you can practice around with it. But this is the horizontal. Her planners also have a very clean and simple look. Nothing frilly, definitely not something that would be considered a bossy planner. You kind of make it your own. Okay, so the next layout we're going to talk about is the Scout, which used to be called the Portrait Planner. Now the Portrait Planner is a very popular layout, and this year they came out with it in the small mini size. You can see it compared to the big. And this layout is really fun. You still have your 2 bookmarks in the front. What's really fun about it, your special holidays, your holidays, special dates. This is a 2026 version. This just came out this year for 2026. It's January to December 2026. These are still available, but they do usually sell out pretty quickly. And what you have here is the month on the top. A lot of gals like this, and they also like the orientation. So instead of a landscape orientation here, you now have a vertical orientation. So you go from horizontal to vertical, and this makes sense to a lot of gals. So you have your whole month up here. These are your planning pages. So what would have been in this planner that can be seen on the side at this whole time. You see this on the side the whole time except this little secret spot. Now this one has, they're all kind of a secret spot. Your trackers are here as well in the front, but when you're at your weekly here, you can't see any of your planning pages, but they are an easy flip. And what I like to do is I like to paper clip so that I can grab the whole weekly from whatever week I'm on and jump to my page here. And then when I get towards the end of the month, I do the same over here. I paper clip so I can jump to my planning pages over here. And then again, the boxes in this monthly are a lot bigger for the mini. You can see the size there. So you do have a little less maybe room on the weekly, but maybe, I don't know, maybe even not. But the boxes on the monthly are a lot bigger. You have a lot of room to write in there compared to the mini horizontal or vertical. And then this is a vertical lined layout as well. One thing that's really pleasing about this layout is you have Sunday all the way down. So if you have something marked on Sunday, it's just right under where you're gonna have to put it onto your weekly. And you can also see patterns of your weeks. I was using this for wellness for a little bit, and I could see patterns of what days I worked out the most on, which was really not a lot at all actually. But yeah, these little pages are really fun and cute to flip. And that's how every month is, just like these little pages. Your planning and goal pages are, you will have to flip to, and then you have your month up here. Now the only thing, when this is turned sideways, you only see half of your month and then half of your month. But the thing is, you still can see your month. You don't have to flip back every single time like in most planners. And she has these little cute Dutch door weeklies. I love this layout. I love Laurel Denise planners. They are so smart. And this is the mini 2026. Now this is the academic large. And I've already taken a bookmark out because I did use this for a while, but we'll get to a blank page here. Yeah, so November here is blank. So I was using this for wellness from July to October. And you can see a lot more space compared to our little mini here. We'll get to November. In the 2026 planner, she has this cute little reminder page that can just be torn out to get ready to order your new planner before the holiday rush. So that's smart. But let's get to the pages here. You can see how much smaller these little boxes are. The monthlies, even though they had quite a bit of room compared to the other one, are quite a bit smaller than the large. So in between any kind of large or small size planner, you know, it really depends on how much you write. This was just showing that classic planner stickers, happy planner stickers fit in the box. But this is what we're looking at here, difference-wise. It's actually quite a bit. And the other thing is this can come in a Sunday or Monday start. That's the one really great thing about Laurel Denise that I love. It's a Sunday start option, which very few planner companies offer. So you can see the difference of the boxes here and the difference of the weekly lines. And this is the Scout, formerly called the Portrait Planner, because its orientation is a portrait instead of landscape. Okay, so then we have two more planners over here. We have a pop-up planner, which this is also new for the academic year. And then this is the 2026 version. And all it is a standing planner on your desk, which is so clever. We use this for a family command center. And so it stands up on your desk. It has this, like, you just pop this open. I've never had this close. I've never had a problem with it. It stands great on the shelf. And you have your little tiny, tiny weeklies up here. And then your planning page section is back here. But if you need more space for the weekly, not for the first week, but for the second week, you can use some of this on top here. You also have this entire, for the 2026 one, dot grid back page that you can bullet journal. I mean, you can do a ton of things over here with this on this planner. So I've used this planner a couple of ways. I started with that Family Command Center. I did use it as a homeschool planner for a little bit, and then I went back to Family Command Center because that's more needed, popped up. The academic version, which still gives you 6 months of 2026, is on sale for 50% off of its original price. So you can check that out on the website, or you can get the full 2026 one. Every planner that Laurel Denise offers has multiple cover choices. So don't look at my covers and think those are the only ones that you can have. You'll have multiple cover choices. You will also have Monday or Sunday start abilities, and then you have large or small choices. This is the last coil planner that I have. It's called the Rose right now. It was called the 4-column planner. It was called the Project Planner. You have the same beginning opening pages, my holiday and special date page, and then when you open this up, this is the Rose with the 4-column habit trackers down here. What everybody loves about this planner is how big these boxes are. So it is kind of comparable to the Portrait, but if you like landscape and big boxes, you know, here's the big Portrait. So you see they're slightly wider, but they're not as deep. And you have a lot of room to write on here. So that's why a lot of gals love this Rose planner. And then compared to the regular, whether you're doing the horizontal or vertical planner from Laurel Denise, the regular size large boxes are like this. So you can see quite a bit of difference. Actual measurements, again, are on the website. Okay, so those are all of the quill planners that I have, but let's talk about her bound planner, which I have right over here. She has 2 bound planner layouts, and I only have one. And she also has a new updated cover, although I think this cover is really soft and pretty. This actual planner in a Sunday start is on clearance. This is the horizontal. So I'm just going to show you this real quickly. You have always a pretty pattern on the inside, and you do have a pocket in the back here. You have your name page right on the back of your holidays page. Then, so it looks like I have some notes in here. Let's go to a first blank month. I've been playing around with this a little. So this is the difference about this planner. Your monthlies just alone, just like any typical planner that you see on the market, your monthlies first. And you have a side column. Sometimes planners will have these other months on the top, and they have actually quite a bit of space up top here to write stuff. But this nice column down here, very light lines so that you can kind of use it however you want. They're not like dark and distracting. And then when you open to your weekly, all the weeklies are just like this. The Sunday goes all the way across, which I love. And you have a this week here. Monday goes all the way across. Holidays really small on the weeklies. And that's how the whole month is. At the end of the month, you literally just go from your last week into your next month. Now her vertical layout we're gonna try to talk about, but it's gonna be a little difficult to present, but you can go on the website and look it up. This column says this week, but this column on the vertical is over here, and it's dot grid. Okay, so pretend like there's a column dot grid here. So there's a column over here, it has no heading. You do have a little space on the top, just like you have here. You have vertical columns that are lined, and they go about, we'll say to Thursday. I think they go kind of in the middle, to the middle of Thursday. There are a lot of videos online about this vertical. It's called the Christie or the vertical Laurel Denise, not the vertical week and month Laurel Denise. And then down at the bottom here are just dot grid. So you have like the lined columns where you can time block or write events, and then you have dot grid on the bottom, a column here without a heading, and then some space on the top. So it's kind of hard to explain, but you can check out on the website and see if you like that layout. I do really like this layout, how it goes all the way across, but I don't love a bound planner. But I did see a YouTuber unbind this planner and put it on discs. So that is possible too if you're a disc gal, which I am, and I have put my coil on discs, but we won't talk about that in this video. But a lot of gals like the bound planners, so you have a lot of options. So she has two layouts in bound, this horizontal and a vertical. And then the last planner she has is a thin planner, and it only has the monthlies. And they're very similar to how this monthly looks, with the space on the top, the column, I don't know if it's here, a column, large boxes, and it would be essentially just these months back to back. So I think it is a little bigger, I think, than this, but again, the measurements are on the website. So if you just want like a monthly, where you're only looking at the month, and then you're going to the next month, and then to the next month, you do have that available also from Laurel Denise. You know, it'd just be like this, month to month to month, with no weeklies. So I think that one is called the K. So that is all of the layouts. And I know this is a super long video, but we're gonna talk now about each layout and what you can possibly do in them. So one of the first things you are gonna have to decide is if you want a mini or a big. The small, I'm gonna say you would obviously have to write small. You still have all the perks, okay? You have the double pockets, you have the same beginning and end, you have the 2 bookmarks, you just have these teeny tiny boxes, and the columns are not as wide, as you can tell. So there are a couple gals who have done videos here on YouTube where they have taken what they had in their large Laurel Denise and tried to fit it in the mini, and it fit. So yeah, they had to write maybe a little smaller, but they could still fit everything, even on these little tiny boxes, by just writing a tiny bit smaller. And also ideal to use a smaller pen tip. So I use a 0.5 in this, I can use a 0.7 in my big. So if you write small, you really can still use this in a mini. If I was using a mini, I would probably use more than one, like maybe make it a couple topics or one topic each. I don't know if I would do everything in here, but I am a planning channel and I break my categories apart for my planners. And for instance, I have 4 planners for 2026 with some inserts. But a lot of gals really do make this work, and it's helpful because you can have these planning pages back here. And then you can also, when you start to run out of room or you need some extra space, you can put Post-its. You can like cut these down, or Laurel Denise has Post-its that fit perfectly in all of these columns. She also recommends the type of Post-it because she has several different formats of Post-its. She recommends which ones for which planner. So for this small, vertical, aligned, now called the Anne, she does have Post-its that will fit really well in this planner. So you can check it out. It's actually shown below the planner. So if you're looking at the small vertical planner, when you click on the planner, You should see the recommended post-its below. Anything you do in a vertical layout, you can do with this. I have time blocked in this, and I've done it 2 ways. I've time blocked at the top and put a little bit of a list at the bottom with my priorities up here. I've time blocked at the bottom, which I kind of like better, put my priorities in my list at the top. You can also just make a list. Right now I'm also doing categories, so I'm writing sideways little titles, and I make it into a block layout where everything here, let's just say, is exercise. So this whole block will be what I do to exercise. So I'm using this as wellness right now. So then my next category could be food, and then everything here is food in a little block layout. I plan to actually separate it with washi or a highlighter or something just to keep it straight in my head, but you don't have to. So you can put people's names up here. You can do work, personal, family, different categories, and just block it off. So this vertical is great for time blocking. It's great for blocking it off. Let me just show you my example right now. And do remember, I did put my planner on discs instead of keeping it on the coil. But we'll talk about how you can Franken plan on the coil as well. But I'm just gonna show you for practical purposes. I did my side categories, and then everything is a block across. I've done this before with 6 categories down and 1 category here to be 7 total categories. And I've also made this into a horizontal before. So if you're just like having a week where you just don't want to think vertically, if you do 4 lines each with the bottom one 3 lines, you can get 7 days across here. And then on the big, it's 5 lines each. So this would be Sunday, this would be Monday, this would be Tuesday, Wednesday, you know, all the way down. And now you can make it into a horizontal. I whited out these top parts and put categories for everything. And so you can make it a block layout, horizontal, if you're just sick of a vertical for a week. You can do the opposite with the horizontal. You can make it into a vertical. It really is versatile. If you really are not liking the vertical layout, it's just a little effort where you'd be putting these headings down here anyway. So now you're just putting them up here and changing the date. So it's a little more effort, but you can make it into a horizontal. So it's super, super versatile. Again, like I said, you could put people's names, like your kids' names, your husband, yourself, and have different sections across for everything that they're doing for the week. You also have this whole section up here, which can be a list of to-dos. It can be goal planning. You can bullet journal on this dock right over here. All your appointments and special days can be on the monthly, but you can also put other things like exercise, steps, you can track on the monthly. There are a lot of things that you can do with a vertical. So whatever you can do in this mini, you can do quite a bit more in the big because you do have more space. So in the mini, maybe you could only do steps and appointments on your monthly. Now you could do steps, appointments, word of the day, verse of the day, whatever you want to do on the big. And you also have quite a bit more room over here. And don't forget, in both planners, you have a list for the week, which is something that some planners lack, to have just a running list for the week. Groceries can be over here, meal plan over here, meal on the monthly. Like, there's so much you can do with this. And because you can see this the whole time, whatever you put on here is included in your weekly. It's part of your weekly. It extends out to the monthly. For instance, your steps, you would normally put that in your weekly, but now it's here so you can still see it at all times. Your dinners that you're cooking, you would normally put that on your day, your weekly day, but now it's over here and it's an extension of your weekly. So I love having the monthly there. So those are just some ways you can use the vertical. So if you like to time block sometimes, but you don't like to time block all the time, like I said, I've used it as time blocking. I've time blocked up high, I've time blocked up low, I've made this just into a list planner, I've made it into a section planner. The vertical is super versatile, and I've made it to a horizontal. So any of those are possible in this Laurel Denise vertical. Incredibly versatile, but again, so is the horizontal. So don't rule out the horizontal. I would say if you ever time block, you probably do want to go with the vertical, because you can block layout the horizontal, but it would be a little more difficult to time block the horizontal. So here's the horizontal. We're gonna open up with the mini, and I'll show you the ways that I have used it. The mini is so stinking cute. I mean, it's so fun and cute. I'm gonna try the mini starting in a couple days just to see how it's working, but I'm using a handful of minis. Okay, so here you can see one thing I like about the big horizontal is you do have the dates up here on the top. You could also white that out and write a note, but it's not here on the mini. And it's fine because you can still see the dates. And you can look over here real quickly and see it's the 29th through the 4th. So it's nice to have, it's not necessary, but I do like it there. So the mini has that cut out just to give you the most possible room for your days. The format's very much the same. Again, the box is so much smaller. The weekly boxes quite a bit smaller. Your list smaller. Everything's smaller because it is the small. Let's talk about ways to use a horizontal. So the way that my sons, they have this layout with the monthly over here. And I'll tell you how they use it. They use it differently than I do. They'll put a couple of things that they want to do over here and they write across. They write like big and sloppy. They can fit, and they use the mini, so they can fit about 3 to 4 things depending on how they write. Sometimes they'll write 1 or 2 here and 1 or 2 there. You can make just 2 little separate sections. And then over on this side, they usually write things that I need them to do or take care of that are not like their personal goals, but something that they still have to get done. Like take out the trash, brush the dogs, things like that over here. And then they can have a list here of things that they want to do, like different posts, different studies, different things that they want to do over here. So that's how they use it. It's super efficient for that, and they like it because they can write bigger. Where in the vertical, you saw the columns were pretty small. So sometimes it takes a little effort to try to write smaller in those columns. So the horizontal is really nice for space. Now I use the horizontal as a journal. I use this section for things of the day and for kids. And I use this section for like relationships or other things that are bothering me a little deeper. And I like it because it's small, compact. I don't have to spend a ton of time journaling, but I do get my frustrations out and onto paper, which really helps. And if I don't have enough room for something, I will write, for instance, the 29th here, and I will finish my thought. I'll write the 1st here and finish my thought. And then I also continue over here. I can section this off. Sometimes I put stickers over here, like box stickers, and I'll use a box for the 29th, and I'll use a box for the 1st. It's not exactly organized, but I don't really visit my journal. Again, I just want to get the thought out so it's not bugging me and keeping me from sleeping. So that's 2 ways to use this. I also have this set up for December to use as a Bible planner. I've written what I'm reading over here, and then I will be writing 1 verse here and then like a reflection here. This, on this week section, I'm going to write important people or places in the reading. So it's just gonna be like a list based on the reading. Those are 3 ways you can use this planner. As I mentioned before, you can turn this into a vertical planner with a little bit of effort. To be a full vertical, you would white out these days, so it's a little bit of effort. You would make the block lines to have 4 over here, 3 over here. And it's tight, but you can tell that it can work because you have the 7 days here already across. So these are the same size paper. You would put this one in half, then put each section in half, and then put this one in thirds. It would be tight, okay? So you could do that if you really wanted a vertical for the week. And what I've also done is whited out this line and extended it over to make the box a little longer and have this week a little smaller. So it can be a vertical. It would take a lot of effort. I would say don't get this planning to make it a vertical, but if you just have a week where you're like, want to try the vertical, it is doable. I'm going to show you an example in a moment. Not a full example of a vertical, but just to give you an idea of how it can work, okay? So yes, it can be a vertical. And then the way that I use it for my work planner, and I've also used this as a homeschool planner and just blocked it off and put their subjects on top. And then this would be like math, everything they had for math for the whole week, everything they had for Bible the whole week, everything they had for logic the whole week would just be a list down. So like a block homeschool layout, I've also used it like that. I have also used this planner as a meal plan planner. This was just a separate fun little planner that I had for a while, that I was using for a while, and I really did love it. And I put a line down the middle. I put breakfast over here for the whole week, dinner over here for the whole week, and I loved it because I could see what we ate the whole week for dinner, what we ate the whole week for breakfast, like just in a list, instead of like all sprawled out how it is right now. And then over here I just put snack list, and it didn't have to be on a certain day, so I could white those out. Sometimes I didn't bother, and I just wrote the snacks that were available for the week. I used this as my weekly meals so that I could pull one for each dinner according to the ingredients that I had. And then depending on what I felt like making for the night, say it's Tuesday, I could come over here and look at my options and just pull one over for Tuesday. I used to try to plan ahead. I'd have my list of meals for the week and I would just try to pre-label them over here. But like on Tuesday, maybe I don't feel like making spaghetti. I feel like making something else. So I would do a lot of erasing. That's always an option. And I do recommend erasable friction pens on these planners. It just makes a world of difference. So those are different ways that I've used it. And then the last way that I've used this planner is as a block layout for my work. And I will just show you that because I have it already set up for December. So I know. Again, I put this on disc. I know it doesn't look great. You don't have to do that. I just like my planners together, but that's not the point of this. The point of this is I have my little heading up top. And then this is my weekly. I write everything for each day for this topic, everything for each day for this topic, everything for etc. And then I have a list here of just like weekly tasks for work that I want to get done. Now this particular one, I'm going to take this. I have a right side monthly over here. That wouldn't normally be here, so we can ignore that. But this is in my setup video if you want to see it. But this is just another way. This is similar to how I did the homeschool planner, where it's a block layout. This is also very similar to how you would do it if you're turning it into a vertical for a week. Let's do one full example of that, and we'll just erase it so you gals can see what it would look like. So I'm gonna pull these pages out and I'm gonna do this as an example to make it into a vertical. The only thing I'm not gonna do is white out the dates because I still need those. But if I wanted to make this into a vertical, I'm gonna come grab my ruler here. Now, Laurel Denise has videos on her YouTube channel, how to use each of these layouts, deep dives, including things that you can use these side pages for, things that you can put in your back pages, and how to make one of these planners your main planner. I use several of the planners, but like I said, I am a planning channel, and so that is part of why I do that. Okay, I'm going to do these lines super light, and then again, this is in the mini. I have this mini set up for December. It's going to be rough because you could actually measure this out if you wanted to. So I did the center line by eyeball. I eyeballed center of these two. This is, it's a little crooked, right? And then this one I need 3. Okay, I would white these out. The Sunday could actually stay there, right? The Sunday could stay there. Let's get a little closer, sorry gals. So the Sunday could stay there. I would do Monday the 8th, Tuesday the 9th, etc. These would all be whited out, and now I would have, so we'll finish, we'll do Thursday. You could even abbreviate TH. Okay, so pretend like this little S is not there, and then look, you can see across Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. I forgot Wednesday. But, and then this would be the whole column for Monday. This would be the whole column for Tuesday, but you have a block layout now. So now you could have, you also would have a little room here to put, let's say, work, appointments. I'm gonna say child 1, child 2, husband. What else? Personal. So I wrote the categories on the side here, but again, these would be gone. I don't want to do it fully. I'll do it fully in a different video, but I need this page for next week. So these would be gone, invisible. And now I have my work, appointment, child 1, child 2, husband, personal. I spelled that wrong. And then I have one more category. And so now everything across would be work. Everything across would be appointments. Everything across would be child 1 for the whole week. in a vertical layout. Okay, so that is how you can turn a horizontal into a vertical. Again, just whiting these out. It actually is pretty quick if you're doing it with pencil and not doing stickers and just, you know, making your own categories. It can go really quickly. I'm gonna erase all this and put it back into my planner, but that gives you the idea. Now, and I think you can kind of time block in this planner, and I'm gonna show you how. We'll use, let me use this next page as an example. I could do something like this. It's not as easy in the horizontal, but I have seen people do it. And there are a couple horizontal planners that actually come with the time blocking on their planner. And then the rest of the day is, you know, like this. You would have this whole next section of the day. So here on Tuesday, I have 8 through 6 p.m. just time blocked, and I'd have to write really small. I could split it up and have even a third column to have like a little more room to write. So it's not as efficient as like a timeline, especially I think mentally it might be a little more confusing. But let's do them a little more spaced out. Okay, so that got me to 7 p.m. and I have like just kind of a time block there. You know, it's not great, but actually it could work. And especially if you know, like you just have something in the evening that you want to time block, you can just do the evening one. And then you still have this whole other side over here. Just pretend like this line isn't here. You don't have to sticker it. I just like to sticker mine. And then you have that whole extra side for other things too. So it is possible to time block in a horizontal. Like I said, there are planners that have a time blocking in the front of the horizontal day, and then they just have the rest of the day. Okay, so yeah, I will erase this off of camera, but that's exactly how you can use any horizontal as a vertical. We're gonna pop our bookmark back in. It goes in so easily. All right, so benefits of a horizontal: writing across, having like a main section and a personal section, meals over here, blocking it off as a block layout, making sure that you use this monthly as an extension. Put meals over here and it's an extension of your Tuesday the 25th. Meals can be over here and it's still viewable at all times. So yeah, block it off, turn it into a vertical, make your own like just 2 sections or 3 sections with just dots. You don't have to draw the lines, you can just dot it out to have 3 sections. Whatever you want, right across as a journal, right across as a Bible verse. Yeah, very, very versatile in the horizontal. And then you still have all of these pages for planning. Again, Laurel Denise has deep dives on all of her layouts on her YouTube channel, and you can check them out and see a ton of examples of how people use her horizontal planner, her vertical planner. Those videos are a lot of fun, so I definitely recommend you checking them out. So this horizontal, you're gonna have just a very similar thing. You can block it off, like I was saying before. The only thing different is you're not gonna have your monthly right there to use as an extension. So if you wanna do meal planning, it's gonna have to be like one of your little sections. But again, also how I do the work, where I put a category on top and then I see the whole list for the whole week of what I did for that category. Let's say work, you can see your whole week of what you did for work. You can see your whole week of what you did for personal, exercise, family. You can see your whole week down if you block it off. And again, you don't have to block it off. You could dot it off and just have the sections. You can highlight it in different colors, anything. The Laurel Denise horizontals are so unique because they continue across instead of having some over here and some over here. So I really do love that about the Laurel Denise horizontals. Okay, so now let's get into the rows. And the rows is the previously 4-column planner, previously project planner. Now, different ways to use this. There are some gals who have it like this. They put it on a stand and they put it on their desk and they use it as their main calendar, and they write like everything important down here, and then they have their separate planner, but they refer to this when they're filling out their weekly planner pages. And everything is up here, right? You have a lot of room on the boxes. You can do different colors in here. Pink is gonna be work. Blue is going to be personal. Green is gonna be family. So you can do that all on here. You can even make the lines ahead of time and just write work in this section, blue, personal in this section, family in this section. So that's one way you can use this. And then you have the 4 columns over here. Some people will use 1 column each week. You can also grab these weekly Post-its. These are stickable Post-its, and you can put it here and stack your weeks this way and make these just general lists. Or if there's 5 weeks, you can do the 4 weeks here. You can block them off into Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, very similar to this. Smaller, obviously, and make just a little section. I'm a Sunday start, but remember you can get any of these planners in Monday start, but you could put an S for Sunday, write your stuff, M, write your stuff. So you can make it into a weekly because you have 4 columns, and for the 5th week, you can always do this, or you can section off the bottom and do the 5th week down across the bottom. There are different things you can do. You have your habits here at all times looking at you instead of in the back pages. So a lot of gals like this, but a lot of gals do also buy inserts for this. So you can put like a horizontal insert in here. You could put a vertical insert in here. I'm going to show you a little bit of an example of that in my rows that I have, my mini rows in here. So this also comes in large and small. I did purchase a small rows for 2026. It's the first time they offered the small rows, actually. The small 4 column project planner. Okay. And I have already pulled it off the coil and punched it onto the disc, so don't mind that. We'll take the pages off so it's not distracting. Because I know not all you gals want to put your planners on discs, but I am a planner disc gal. Okay, so here's the small or mini. You see the boxes are much smaller, exact same format, the 4 columns, the habit trackers. And what I did in this planner is I put these vertical inserts in here. And so what I was thinking, I'm going to use this as a project planner, not a weekly planner, but you can do it whatever you want. I'm going to have my 4 projects here, and then I'm going to come and just put lists for, let's say one's the kitchen, I'll do a kitchen list. One's the living room, I'll do a living room list. So, and then I write what I do daily on the box over here. This is also a large box for the mini. I'm going to show you that. If you have a regular mini with inserts, look at the difference here. You have a lot more room. You have so much more room. Takes up the whole page, but like just box wise, 1 box to 1 box. We're gonna line up this 30 and this 7 and just like it's like almost 2 boxes worth of space there. That is amazing. So that's why a lot of gals like the rows. Now what I'm gonna say about the rows, I saw that a lot of gals, planner gals, and then like all of Laurel Denise's team chose the rose planner, either in the small or the large for 2026. It's gonna be their main, their everything planner. The one thing is that most of them have inserts. It is nice that you can pop inserts in, but when you have the inserts, consider this. You are going to cover some of your numbers here. So you only have 4 days showing at all times, which is fine. And then you could just flip up quickly for the 3 days. It's still really easy to get to because you just flip it up. So there is that. With inserts, you do have this one awkward side here that you could just turn into lists. And her inserts won't have the dates on top. I whited these out. These were dated inserts that I cut out to use, but you wouldn't have that white out there, but you do have this whole section here. You could just make lists or different things. And then your first weekly will go here when you open this section up. You could also save this one and put it towards the back because the back is going to be empty like this. And then you can make it another week at the end. But a lot of the gals are planning to use this with inserts, not just like this. So that is a really good option. The thing I'm thinking is you could just buy a planner, like a horizontal or vertical planner, and you get the inserts in the planner, but you have no weeklies at all. The reason people love this is you're not stuck with like the horizontal. If you get sick of the horizontal, you can buy vertical inserts. You can do that anyway. So let's say you get sick of the horizontal, you can buy vertical inserts. What's going to happen is this is still going to be here. And then the vertical inserts, this first page, just like always, is also not going to be part of the week. at least the first week. So you can write these out and make this just another list, and then jump to the vertical, and then have these weeklies as the vertical. So they wouldn't be dated. So you could get inserts. You're not stuck just because you have a horizontal layout. You're not stuck with it. I showed you how to make it a vertical real quickly, but also you can buy the vertical inserts and pop them in. And there's a way to do that. I have videos of how to clip out these old pages and pop new pages in, but you do not even have to clip out the old horizontal pages. You could just pop your vertical pages in front of them. If you don't want to go to the trouble clipping them out, you could just put the new inserts in and now have a vertical planner. And then if you get sick of the vertical, pull them out and still have your horizontal back here. So for the money, I do think this is kind of a better deal, but then you have to look at these boxes, you know. They're so much bigger. So if this is more important to you, have really big boxes over here, I can understand the rows, getting the rows. The other thing about the rows versus the regular planners, you can see that the trackers take up part of your planning space over here. And I think it's substantial. I don't think it's just like a tiny bit, you know, like the bottom, what, fourth maybe of the page. It takes up with trackers where your weekly inserts have them back here. And you have this very, very open section to bullet journal or anything. Here you're kind of stuck with lists. You could write this out in bullet journal. But so in a way, I do still think these little guys with the weeklies are more versatile. But I think it really all comes down to these monthly boxes. I think that's the reason people grab the rows. And also because they're thinking they could put any insert in that they want. They're not stuck with horizontal. They're not stuck with vertical. But as I just said, you are not stuck. You can still get a vertical pack of inserts if you think you may get sick of the horizontal and pop them in instead for a month. You can get them for a couple months, or you can turn it into a vertical like I showed you. And that's the same for the vertical. If you want to go to horizontal, I showed you how to quickly turn it into a horizontal, or you could buy the horizontal inserts and pop them in for the vertical. I know why gals are going for the rows. It's just these boxes are so spacious. Just remember that part of your monthly will be covered. 3 days of your week will be covered on every monthly, and 1.5 columns will be covered of your planning pages over here, including your habit trackers are covered, which they're covered here anyway because they're in the back. So you would just flip to the back for either one. But a lot of gals love the rows for these big boxes and just for the option to switch up every month. And so I guess I gotta say this. I think that, yeah, if you have a horizontal, for instance, and you want to try a vertical, you may be hesitant because you already have the horizontal perfectly good pages in here. But the good thing about the rows is you have no commitment. So you don't have to be like, oh, I'm just gonna make my horizontal work better. You can be like, oh no, there's nothing there. I'll pop in a daily. I want to try a daily. There's nothing there. I'll pop in a vertical. I'm going to try a vertical. So I do understand the draw to the rows. So think about that. You have a lot bigger boxes. You can pop any inserts in, or you can make these work as weeklies. Pop in some Post-its for weeklies. Grab horizontal, daily, block, or vertical inserts. Dot grid inserts and just dot grid. Bullet journal your little weeks. So yeah, I guess that, now that I'm talking about it, that is actually really attractive to be able to just change up your week every month, your weeklies every month. I kind of want to go get some insert packs now, but I'm not going to. Okay, I'm starting to see the draw to the rows. There's no like guilt or commitment about not using your horizontal pages that are already there. I think that's a lot, gals. I think that says a lot. So I'm really on board now. After thinking about it, for value wise, yeah, maybe get some with weeklies if you think you're gonna want weeklies. There's some gals who switch their planners every month, and you can do that here. You can have vertical, horizontal, daily, dot grid bullet journal style, block layout. Yeah, okay, that's fun. That's fun. All right, so this is the rows. So 2 things, you don't necessarily need weeklies every week, and you just want lists maybe for the whole week, and you can put from your list what you're doing each day from your list, like a list for work, a list for home, a list for exercise, a list for family, and just pull it and put it on your day. Or you want to try different inserts and just kind of switch it up because you don't know if you want a vertical and you don't know if you want a horizontal and you're not sure if you want a block layout. You can just pop the different inserts in and try them and try them. So it's going to be a little more expensive in the end, but now that I'm thinking about it, I think it's actually a really fun option. Everything to be considered. I do think this is actually a fun way to go now. Okay, so we're not done. We're not done. I thought we were done. That's why I was like taking a little more time, but no, we're not. How could we forget the Scout, the small or the large? This is actually a really fun planner. You can time block. I've seen people time block half, kind of like the horizontal, like say 8 to 12 here and then 1 to 5 here, and just have like these little tiny sections. It works better probably in the large, but that's a possibility. You could time block at the bottom, time block at the top, do a list. You do have this weekly list as well, so you can time block and just have a couple lines on bottom to pull from your weekly list. You also have this whole monthly up here. You can put meal plans, exercising, appointments, birthdays, everything. You have a lot of space in this. So this is good for like a condensed, smaller time blocking, or maybe you don't have to time block all the time, or you're fine doing the time block down this side and then maybe making another to-do list on this side. Highlighting helps separate all your categories. But this is a fun planner also if you want your planner to be upright instead of landscape. And this small is really compact. It's compact and can fit in your bag pretty easily. You have a lot of space, your monthly space here, space on top here, all of these planning sections here. I'll show you some examples of how I used mine, but I mean, mine is a mess. Laurel Denise has videos on her channel for this planner as well, and she has much better examples. I was using this as one of my several planners, so it wasn't utilized to its full potential. But for instance, here's July. I had left these open so I could write a quote or write some things, and I ended up just stickering it at the end. This is for wellness, so I have my trackers, different things that I wanted to do, goals. I did some like currently stuff, what I was watching, what I was drinking, like I wanted to get to bed earlier. Took up a ton of space with this. These are 4 different sections of things that I wanted to do and get done, and then my weeklies. I was basically tracking things. You can see I kind of made just little sections in each day. So that is one way to do it. The top I literally only used for if I worked out and if I did some self-care, which I didn't, and that's why a lot of it's blank. So for a full planner, you have a lot of room up here. I wrote pretty big on the top because there is room. You could write much smaller and fit more in there. So this is just the way that I was using it. You know, here I tried to make these extra checklists, which are really sloppy. A ton of space left on the monthly. I left this open, didn't use it. Still have my little sections, so you can section it off. Child 1, child 2, work, personal. This had so much space this month, and this does have a little more space than the main planners between all the pages. Had so much space I didn't even use it all. But in this section I did must do, try to do, if I have time. I did different categories. Again, I'm doing like little sections for the day, and you could do that with work, home, child, appointments. I didn't do any time blocking in here, so just some extra planning pages. It's actually a really fun planner, and these little pages are so fun to flip when you're working through them. And honestly, you can't see your planning pages over here at all times, but they're fun to flip too. And again, I paper clipped all this together and just flipped to my planning page, and then the next week I'd put one down, paper clip this side together, flip, flip, and it was really easy. So, super fun planner. I really did like using this. And yeah, that's basically it. Planning pages, a ton of room to write on the monthly, especially if you're gonna write small. So the Scout is great for a larger monthly section where you can fit more topics on the monthly. So maybe you do work and appointments on the monthly, or personal and appointments on the monthly. You have your side planning pages still that are easy to flip through. And these little guys are so cute. Flip, flip, flip. All of her planners have inserts. So just say this is a little small. You can fit extra dot grid pages back here. You can fit extra 4-column pages back here. You could put them in between your weeks. Have a dot grid page in between Sunday through Tuesday and Wednesday through Saturday. Or again, remember everything can start in a Monday start or Sunday start. So yeah, the inserts really make Laurel Denise planners very versatile as is. if you like coils. So this Scout planner, good for some time blocking, maybe limited time blocking. Definitely easier time blocking in this big. Because even if you're splitting up the big for time blocking, and we'll just do a couple examples. So let's say 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I could keep going down. And let's say 12. We'll go down for a second. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We'll say to 7, okay? I still have 4 lines down here from 8 to 7, 6 to 5, whatever you want. I still have 4 lines down here that I can pull from my to-do list, okay? Or, like I said, I saw some gal do and I thought it was pretty smart. I guess we'll go down to 1. Maybe we'll go to 2. And then we'll do 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That was too many. But most people don't time block till 9 p.m. But you could. And now I put like, let's see how small I have to write here. Doctor appointment. And since it already has the time, I don't have to write the time. I just wrote doctor's appointment. Over here I could say game. Like if I have to go to a game or take a game or watch a game. Let's say dance at noon. That doesn't make sense because kids are in school. But so you have room in the big. Let's try the same thing in the mini. But I am going to erase this. And in this case, you had a lot of lines down below. If you do that, and you can even move your time blocking down. You can time block at the bottom, time block at the top, list at the top, list at the bottom. So those are all versatile, and that's in any planner that can be versatile. Let's check this one out. This is going to be tighter. I do 8. This is a mechanical pencil. These are good to write with in these small planners. I'm going to go to 1. We'll do 2, 3. So that got me to 7 p.m. and I still have a list down here. I have 2, 4, 6, 7 lines down here still to fill out. If you want to do work, for instance, I could say work and what I need to do for work. I can say exercise and put an E, what I want to do for exercise. Family, maybe I'm meeting them for dinner. So I could do different subjects down there. And they could be anything. It could be child 1, child 2, etc. down there. And I can highlight too. I could give everybody their own highlighter color. But let's see if we can write doctor's appointment. I am writing obviously a little smaller. I'm going to do dance at 11. Still kids are in school. Game. Let's say pickup. Maybe it's an early pickup. I homeschool, so I don't know anything about that. But okay, doctor's appointment, dance, pickup, game. Still fits. Still fits. If I wanted a little more detail, I think I could fit it in there. So let's say soccer game on top of this game. Fits in there. Still in the same line. I'm actually surprised about how well that fit. Okay. And then, like I said, you still have 2, 4, 6, 7 lines down below to pull from your weekly list. Okay. Bottom line, it could be meals. Meals could be up here. Appointments could be up here. I don't know. That's more versatile than I thought, gals. You can fit a lot more in this mini than I thought. All right, so Scout. Maybe limited time blocking, maybe double stack time blocking. Like to see your month up above instead of looking to the side, like the rows lined up like this. Like a little more room in your monthly to write. So this is the small of this. The small of the regular monthly boxes is like this. So you have more room on the weekly maybe? Maybe not. Maybe slightly with both sides. But the monthly is a lot bigger. Yeah, that's interesting. All right, so that's just Scout. Now again, Laurel Denise has on her channel kind of like this flow chart that is really great that shows you what planner you might want to use. I just want to show a couple more ideas, and they actually might have these ideas on their deep dives. They have deep dives of every planner layout, small and large. So go to their channel and check that out. They're also doing this really fun thing. It's a matchmaking planner where they are talking to a gal, finding out what her life is like, and then matching her with one of their planners, which is so fun. The first one was really fun. They have 2 more coming up, so check back to her channel for that. And I'm gonna have a link below, my affiliate link to Laurel Denise, and also my discount code is TAMBER10, TAMBER 10, if you like any of these products and if you think one of these is really gonna work for you. So now we're gonna go to the pop-up. This is now called the Joe Planner. Okay, really fun planner. If you need to see your planner at all times. I tried this in November for wellness because I wanted it to be in my face at all times, but we use this as a family command center too. And what I love about it is anybody can look at it and see what week my husband's gonna be on travel, what holidays and birthdays are coming up, when's trash day, because sometimes on holidays it moves. I put like basically a to-do list up here for the kids, a general to-do list. And then I was putting these little check boxes at the top so they can mark off when they work out. So that's for the Family Command Center. Is super, super useful. Actually, is this one it? I can maybe show you the examples here. But here's an example. Okay. So we have, the line is when my husband was on travel. This little washi line. I have their little checklist of when they work out, how often they work out on the top there. General list of what they need to do, or like if we're going to Walmart one day, things that are going on for the day, and then marked it off so they can know what day they are on. Holidays listed, so everything is on here and they can just come and look at it. And that's the Family Command Center. So it works really well as that. Now what I was trying to say is I tried this in November as a wellness planner, but I took apart my office, so it wasn't even popped up anymore, so it didn't work efficiently. That's because of the move, and my office is the dining room, so now we're making it into a dining room again. I have this desk still, but there's no room for a pop-up planner on this desk. So we'll see when I get into a different space. I'll try to pop it up again and use it as wellness, because I want something staring at me, yelling at me to take care of myself and exercise. This planner has a much smaller daily. But you do have space up here like I used for the checklist, but you could write anything up here. You could write meals up here. You could write steps, exercising. Oh, and let me show you because I did set it up. It's more space than you originally thought. I did set it up at first. It just had to be put down because that table was moved. But see, I put steps on top and coffee. You could do meals. You can do steps. You can do, I also have bedtime and how many hours I slept down here. So you can just take a line and highlight it and make it a certain thing. And then I have a list. This is supposed to be self-care on top, and then exercise is supposed to be on the monthly. Which once it got taken off the table, I stopped writing anything down. But you can see it can work for a lot of things for the weeklies here. And highlighting really helps you section things off. And I could have highlighted in here too to make more sections. So you can make quite a few sections. The other thing you can do is right on the back. You could either extend the day up or you could just make more lists. So you have extra planning pages in the back, and then you have extra goal things here. I wrote a tracker here for the wellness. Just made a tracker, and again, I didn't finish it because it's just been in a pile since I had to move that table. And you do have extra sections here. I think this could be useful for like a little bullet journal section, or like just say things you normally do on Sundays, things you normally do on Mondays, or just anything. I've used it a couple ways. Like those are extra planning spaces that you have too in the pop-up planner. So very useful planner. This will continue to be the Family Command Center. And then I'm hoping to make this particular one with this cover. This one goes till June, so it can just keep being the Family Command Center. But this particular one with this cover, I'm hoping to turn into a pop-up wellness. I do have a wellness popped into my planner right now, in my Franken planner, but this has a lot of possibilities. So you can also time block in this planner. Let me get a week in here that's empty. I don't remember why this week in October was empty. Maybe I was trying something else for a little bit. I annoy myself when I do that. But let's say you want a time block. You could do a very similar thing that we did in the Scout. So we got to 7 p.m. We have only 3 lines down here at the bottom. And I'm going to try to write doctor's appointment. It's tighter. Dance. We will say soccer game. You're going to have to use a small pen or small pencil. What else should we say? We should say, what else can people have? Dance, soccer game, maybe we're gonna say movie. So you can still do some time blocking in there. And then you still have 3 lines. The thing that you don't have is a to do this week list, but you can put that over here. You can put that here too. Week 1 to do, week 2 to do, week 3 to do. So you could do your to-do list here. You can do some to-do list stuff up here. It's definitely a smaller space, but it's still super efficient because every back page can be used. Every end page can be used. And then you still have the whole monthly. And I wrote really big stuff on the monthly, but you could write much smaller. A lot would fit on here. Meals, and you could highlight with colors. Meals are always blue. Pink can always be appointments. Green can always be kid schedule, and gray can always be exercise or something. So the boxes are pretty big. Let's compare them to our regular planner boxes, because they are bigger than that. Not as long, but wider. So we look at the 28 here and the 18. They are wider, not quite as long. They're close though, lengthwise. They might be the same length. I'm gonna do it this way so I can see how wide they are. So I'm lining up the 15th and the 21 here, and you can see just a tiny bit taller in the main planner. So the boxes are actually pretty nice size. You can fit a lot in them. Okay, so yes, I do think any of these could be great as main planners. Now, the one thing that is interesting is inserts do fit in this, but they're gonna be like a little wonky. I don't know if they have inserts for this planner yet, but let me show you. I put one in here. This is just a checklist page. It fits in. Pops right on. So inserts can fit on here. They just might hang funny. Like this one in particular is too long. That's why I have it folded up. Just a little long, you know. But the smaller weeklies could maybe fit on there. I don't know what you would do with them. Let me see what I have. This is a vertical. So I don't know which ones would work, but maybe like a dog grid page. You could pop on here and just have extra room. It fits on. It just doesn't quite make sense. The vertical doesn't make sense. The horizontal would give you columns. Let me see if I have a horizontal punched or clipped that I could use. Okay, let's see how the horizontal looks. Pops on fine. It hangs lower, obviously, so it covers this section here. And look, the days are funny, but they are there. Sunday kind of lines up. They're a little sideways, but you can add extra Sunday, extra Monday, extra Tuesday. You could even maybe do it backwards. Whoops, like this. Then you'd have to change the days. I think actually they're undated when you buy a pack. But if you put it backwards, now Sunday lines up pretty perfectly. These get a little skewed. So anyway, the horizontal can work on here, giving you a little more room. And this is ripping because it's not an insert and I wasn't careful with it. But your insert will be reinforced if you buy a horizontal pack. But then again, dot grid, vertical, whatever you want, they fit on here is my point. They may not work, they don't work as well, but they do fit. Okay, so the other thing that is really amazing about the pop-up planner is you have these entire back sides that you can bullet journal on. So I think that could be super fun. I want to eventually get to bullet journaling in my wellness when I start using this as wellness. Bullet journal on the back, and then just have my little structured section over here. And this will be probably more goals oriented. I wanted to do a 2-in-1 like that. So right now I have it popped in as a vertical into my planner because we're moving, but I can't wait until I can start using this like that. I still kind of want to do it now. We'll see. But anyway, but so you can see, very versatile still, a lot of space, a lot of sections, and the monthly, because it's seen at all times, it is an extension. Saturday on the 7th, you want to write your meal, it's right here. You want to write your meal for Wednesday the 11th, it's right here. It's an extension of your week and it gives you more space. So don't discount this monthly for different things that you can use it for. And always, when you run out of space, Laurel Denise has Post-its that fit perfectly in her planners, but you can always cut down, use a Post-it to add some room as well. Okay, so that is kind of like a basic overview look at all Laurel Denise planners to kind of give you an idea which one is right for you. And again, Laurel Denise has videos on this with a flow chart on how to decide, like if you want a time block, you go here. If you want more room to write, you can go here. It's a really great video. I will link it below and I recommend you checking it out. But in here, I just wanted to give you some other ideas of what you can do in a Laurel Denise planner. How if you have a vertical, you don't have to be stuck in a vertical. If you have a horizontal, you don't have to be stuck in a horizontal. You can change things with a little bit of effort. And just different ways that I have used these personally. But to see even more ways how to use these, those videos also show a lot of examples of how gals use a vertical, use a horizontal. They use real life examples from people on their Facebook page or people that have sent them pictures of how they're using their planners. So their channel is basically going to answer a lot of your questions. If you're interested in one of these layouts that I showed today, go onto their channel, look at their overview, look at their deep dive, and you can really narrow in. If there's a couple you're choosing between, look at both of them on her channel, their overviews and the deep dives of each layout, and see which one is going to work best for you. Do remember that you don't have to be stuck. If you grab a horizontal and it's driving you crazy, you can grab the vertical inserts and insert that in, or you can turn your horizontal into a vertical. If the vertical is driving you crazy, you can turn the vertical into a lined horizontal, or you can buy horizontal inserts and pop them in. So don't ever feel stuck. She has made these super customizable and freaking plannable, which I love. Even this portrait planner, the Scout, has different inserts that you can use. And remember, inserts can be used on the pop-up planner. They're just gonna be a little off and wonky, but I think they could be very useful. And don't forget that back page. You can completely do a weekly. Section this off and do extra weeklies over here. So maybe wellness over here, flip over here, and it could be work. And you could just do weeklies over here and still have your main monthly over here. So these pop-up planners are also super versatile. They can be down on your desk when you need them and then just popped up to show you what your week or month is gonna look like. All right, gals, that is it for this video. I would love to know what you guys think. If you're leaning towards any of these planners, which ones you're liking. If you do like them, please don't forget to click through my link or use my code because it will save you 10% on your purchases. Now, Laurel Denise is not having a Black Friday sale where she's discounting planners. As far as I've seen, nothing's discounted, but you do get a free gift. So you will need the code TAMBER10, TAMBER10, to get a discount on your planners. Hopefully this has helped you kind of narrow down some of the layouts that you like. The one thing I do have to say is having the monthly in view at all times is a game changer for me. I love it. I think it makes so much sense to my brain and it is working so well. I love it. Okay, guys, well, that is it for this video. Let me know if you have any questions below. And check back because we will be taking each of these planners and doing a little more of what we did in this video, how we were kind of reformatting them and showing what they can be used for and how they can be used. So check back for videos on that where we're just kind of breaking down a little more what can be done. Thanks so much for joining me today on Tamber with a Plan. I'll see you next time. Bye, guys.